All right, and we are live. What's up, fam? Back here with another stream. Got a ton of people joining me, probably from IG on YouTube. If you're on Instagram Live right now, go to my story, go to my YouTube link. I'm streaming right now. We're talking about how to overcome any obstacle. So, head over to my YouTube if you're on my IG. If you're on YouTube, then awesome. I'm testing something out a little bit with my streaming software. I've looked into a little bit other sources and actually adding people to the stream for like Q&A. So not only IG, it's super easy, just request to join, I join you. But for my people, my folks on YouTube, and for the actual recording of this live, you won't be able to see that. So I've kind of found a way where I can send a link to someone and they can basically join either from your phone, from your computer, wherever, onto the live itself. So I will test that out. Whether or not it will fully function and work like I want it to, I'm not exactly sure, but it's worth a try. We'll try it out. So for those of you RG, if you want to join, then come to my YouTube link and I will put in the chat. Not what I wanted to do. I'll put in the chat what the link is to join. So give me just one quick second for that. All right, I've added a little widget onto my streaming software where I can actually monitor the YouTube chat at the same time. So it's really nice. I remember last stream I had a few people comment and I didn't see it until several minutes afterwards. So my apologies for that. Let me just post this in the chat real quick. All right, I posted in the YouTube chat. All right, let's see. All right, gotta get my chat back up. What's up, Broken Biker? I saw you on the last stream. Let's see. Sorry, taking a quick second to make sure this is working. Make sure my chat's working, which I'm not sure it is. Oh, here we go. There we go. All right, so if you want to join the stream a little bit later on, I'm gonna go through the stuff I prepared, the stuff I looked into for the first. This one's not gonna be super long. This will probably be like 20 minutes or so, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it at 20 minutes. Right now we're running at 4 minutes, so at the 20-minute mark, I'm gonna try to be done with talking about how to overcome any obstacle, aka doing hard things. But after that, open up Q&A, any topics that you're curious on, whether it be about this topic or any other topic, fitness, nutrition, style, relationships, dating, money, like whatever. I'm free game. I'm a wide open book. So go ahead and join the YouTube link. The link to join is in the chat. All right, and I'll just have to somewhat monitor this. Eventually, I'm going to get another monitor. I do have another monitor. Right now, I have like three screens up, so my desk can only hold up to really three screens. I might add a fourth screen whenever I move into my new place in Texas. Maybe 4 or 5 screens, we'll see. That way, I can actually monitor everything. So, let's go ahead and hop into this. So, the topic for today is how to overcome any obstacle. In the thumbnail, I'm actually getting pretty creative and it's fun making a lot of these different thumbnails. But it's David Goggins. He's the master of overcoming difficult, hard, painful, impossible challenges. And if you're not familiar with David Goggins, then I would recommend read his book. So he's an ex Navy SEAL, and he set the I'm not I want to say someone beat him, but he set the record for So ex Navy SEAL, ultra marathon runner. So if you don't know what marathons are, it's basically 100 plus mile races where you'll run in 24 hours, which is insane. And then he set the world record for, I believe, pull-ups done consecutively or something like that, or within 24 hours. It was something insane. He is a certified bad A, and he's crazy. But he has a really great book. He has two books currently out. First one being Can't Hurt Me. Really good book. I read it. It's a great audiobook as well. For those that are very sensitive to swearing and curse words, I would not recommend you listening to the audiobook because it's him narrating it himself, and he's very colorful language, being an ex Navy SEAL and all that. The book itself is very colorful as well, but I think it has a good message behind it, behind all the vulgarity. And then he has another book that came out. I believe it's called Never Finished. I still have yet to read that book. I need to read that one. Looking forward to it. I've had it to my list of many books that I want to read. But that's kind of a quick background on David Goggins. He does hard stuff, and he basically just wants to be the best ever at anything he's doing. So, looks like I have someone that wants to join the stream. I will add you later. Wait till I should have added this link later on, but uh, wait till I kind of go over what I'm going to talk about, and then we can add on. Broken Biker, it must be you trying to add on. All right, Rick Carr also mentioned a question: why don't women want to get married? I will. I can't thoroughly answer that question right now. I don't want to take too much time on it. I will spend a little bit more time at the end. Rick Carr 16 answering that question, but short answer for you is you just have to find a woman that wants to get married and wants a guy in their life type of a thing. You can't really tie down. You can't really have a healthy relationship with a woman that doesn't really want to get married. And there are many different reasons for that. Mainly, you're typically not the guy that she wants to marry, that she seems attractive and she would see in a long-term mate. That's kind of the short answer to that. But I can add to that a little bit later. All right. So, David Goggins. I introduced him a little bit, and he has, for those of you who haven't read the book, I would recommend reading the book. But basis of the book is kind of a life story of what went on in his life. He went from this kid living, I forget which state he was living in. Um, Buffalo. He's from New York, so Buffalo, New York, and I want to say he grew up. All right, yeah, he grew up in Buffalo as well. But he had a really rough childhood, tough parents, lived in a very poverty-stricken area, and his family being black, they're discriminated a bunch, just because they lived in a, I believe, predominantly white neighborhood. So life was tough for him. Like pretty sucky childhood, he would say, but that's kind of what led him up to becoming the man, the person that he eventually became. So he doesn't really look back and say, "Oh, woe is me," like it sucked. I wish it was different. He actually wishes that it was the exact same, just because he became the man he eventually became. So he goes along his life, all this crazy stuff that's happening to him, people being racist to him, people beating him up, people trying to kill him, weird relationships with his tough relationships with his dad. I believe his dad owned a skating rink, which David was in charge of collecting money and helping run that. And yeah, it was a pretty crazy childhood. And then eventually he found himself, who's like 20 something years old. He was just super out of shape. He was like 300 something pounds. He was working for Ecolab. It's a pest control company, spraying cockroaches. And it goes into super vivid detail on how sucky his life was up until that point. Then all of a sudden, he, I believe, connected with a friend and talked about potentially joining the military. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to join the military. But in order to join the military, you have to be a certain weight and you had to pass the entrance test, which David, I can't remember if he graduated high school or not, but was not the brightest kid, to say the least. So what he basically did was he worked out and studied at the same time. He'd be running on a treadmill, doing push-ups, sit-ups while studying. And I can't remember if he failed multiple amounts of times. I have to refresh myself on the book, but he basically lost 100 pounds in like something crazy in like 1 or 2 months. Insane. So he got in shape. He eventually joined the military and he wanted to become a Navy SEAL. So everyone knows how tough it is to be a Navy SEAL, go through that training and actually become a Navy SEAL. Majority of people end up quitting and not making through it. So I believe he went through it 3 times. It's called BUDS. And he always talks about his hell week that they go through in the Navy SEALs training. First time, I believe he broke his femur, or not his femur, his like shin or something. He was basically running on broken legs. And the other time he got sick, and he basically did it 3 times, and then he eventually made it through. And then that's kind of like his coming up story. And then after being a Navy SEAL, he goes on to do a bunch of other stuff, break world records, run ultra marathons, and there's whole stories in itself. I mean, you can look up YouTube videos. He talks about it, but like I said, read the book. Purpose of the live today is not to go over everything that's in the book, but specifically one thing that I believe he mentioned in the book, but he also mentions in a lot of his podcasts that he has done. He actually hasn't done that many podcasts, but and the few podcasts he's been on and few public speaking events that he has spoken at. Talks about this theory, this idea of a cookie jar, which I will show a video and kind of demonstrates it. So let me share my screen real quick. Oh, no. That is the guest. All right, here we go. Now this is good stuff right here.
The cookie jar. The cookie jar is something that I developed years ago. So what happens to me happens to a lot of us in situations. My whole life, I've been put in struggles. I've put myself in struggles. I've purposely put obstacles in front of me to see how I'm going to feel. Like, for instance, I run 205 miles at one time, nonstop. Do you know what goes through your mind when your goal is to run over 200 miles and you're at mile 100? You're at mile 100. You've run for over 24 hours and your body is broken. You're destroyed. You have nothing left, but you have 100 plus more miles to go. How do you find more? So I developed this thing called the cookie jar. And the cookie jar is a reminder. That's all it is. It's a reminder. Even the hardest person in the planet Earth, we forget how badass we are when times get hard. When times get hard, your mind spazzes out. It freaks out, it goes somewhere else. We forget. That cookie jar, you gotta take 1 second. Take 1 second, and that cookie jar has all these things in it. All the things you overcame. All the things that you suffered through. All the things that got in your way and you fought through. So you go in your mental cookie jar when you're going through bad times and you want to quit and you want to bail out. You think about it. Okay, David, what did you do? You went through 2 hell weeks. You went through Ranger School. You went through this. You went through that. It's a reminder. It's a reminder that you are that badass. And that's all it is. The cookie jar is you take 1 second when you're in an extreme environment and your mind and your body are saying, we're done. We need to quit. You gotta remind yourself, hang on a second. I've overcome a hell of a lot more than this. And I have the strength to persevere, to move on, to not be mediocre, to not settle for what's in front of me, to overcome the odds. As long as I'm breathing.
All right. So that was the video. So, like you said, he has this idea of a cookie jar. And every time you do something extremely hard in your life or you overcome an extremely difficult obstacle, you add it to this theoretical cookie jar in your mind. And then whenever you're going through terrible situation, your life sucks, you're depressed, your girlfriend broke up with you, you broke your leg, you can't work out anymore, you get cancer, your parents divorce, like any terrible thing that happens to you, you build up this cookie jar, and during that time when you might be thinking you want to quit, you want to give up, you might want to make permanent solutions for temporary circumstances, you can go to that cookie jar and you can pull stuff out and you can read and remember the previous hard stuff that you did earlier in your life. And a lot of that stuff is, I would argue, harder. And if it isn't harder, then you can accumulate five of those hard things that you've done from that cookie jar together, and that may equal or supersede the current trial or situation that you're going through. Because it's interesting in Chris Williamson, so I'm a big Chris Williamson fan. If you're not aware of him, don't know who he is, he does the Modern Wisdom YouTube channel, and he interviewed David Goggins for like 2 hours. It's crazy. I couldn't even imagine sitting in a room with him for multiple hours just talking about his mentality and his life and all the stuff he's gone through. But he did, and he talked about the moment when most people want to quit. They're not thinking rationally. They're thinking they want to be at home with their girl, full stomach, being comfortable. They don't think rationally in that moment because their body is going through such intense stress that your body is in a fight or flight mode and can't really fight it because you're mainly enduring something super painful and super uncomfortable. But so your body naturally says, get out of that situation, run away, the reaction. But in that moment that you can think rationally, you can take out this cookie jar and you can imagine yourself that you've done this before, you've been in this exact same spot, if not worse, and gotten out of it, then it allows you to keep going. And David also has a really interesting methodology and tip to kind of keep pushing, because Chris asks him, how do you keep going in these excruciating circumstances? And David says, I ask myself just this one question: can I take one more step? And he said most of the time it's yes. Like, if I can just take one more step, then it's a win. It's a W. And then he asked that to himself again, over and over and over again. One more step, yes. One more step, yes. One more step, yes. Until he eventually finishes what he started. So that's the methodology of the cookie jar. And I also kind of touch on it in one of my Instagram posts a while back. So David Goggins does this challenge every spring, usually around February or April or March, but it's called the 4x4x48. So what the challenge is, you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So think about you start on let's say Friday at 8 p.m. You start running, you run 4 miles, and then again at midnight. So midnight, so that would be Saturday morning, 12 a.m. You run another 4 miles, and then at 4 a.m. on Saturday, 4 hours later, you run another 4 miles, and then 8 a.m., and then 12 p.m., and then 4 p.m., and then 8 p.m., and then 12 a.m., until you go through this 12 times and you run a total of 48 miles. And I've done this twice personally, and it sucks. Like, first time I did not prepare myself adequately, did not get the nutrition I needed, I did not get the rest and recovery I needed. I went way too hard, I didn't pace myself. So literally the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 legs of the challenge, I ended up having to walk because obviously I was going to finish, but I couldn't run or jog it like I intended to because my knee was so shot I could not run. It was the pain was so excruciating. And so the next time I paced myself, I knew what I needed to do, rest and recovery wise, and sleep wise, and nutrition wise, to make sure I have enough energy to, because I'm burning thousands of calories. It's crazy. Like, you think you're running every 4 hours, you're like, I'm not super hungry, so I'm not gonna eat anything. You need to eat stuff. So that's one thing I definitely added for the second time I did the challenge, and it went so much smoother. I was able to only slightly injure myself. I had a slightly pulled hamstring, but other than that, it went really well, and I was able to jog everything, and it was still was sucked. But the reason why I'm a big proponent of doing things that suck as well, just because the more you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, the more comfortable you will be in those situations. So it's just like any sport. Like, that's why your coaches always say practice even harder than the games, because if you can kind of master that game speed and even more intensity in practice, then when it kind of comes to the games, it'll be a breeze. It'll be easy. So I agree with that tendency, that methodology of the cookie jar. And thinking about going through my life, I've had a bunch of crappy, sucky things that happen in my life, much like everyone else. Everyone has crap they go through. Like, my parents get divorced. Let's see, I've done. I went on a 2 year mission where I went to a foreign country, not speaking the language, having to learn the language and teach people about God that don't really care about God at all, nor have ever heard about God or religion. I've done that. I've done summer sales with door to door sales. So I did that for 3 summers, basically knocking on random people's doors. They have no idea who I am. I have no idea who they are. Hey, I'm selling pest control, basically. Of course, there's a whole pitch that goes along with it. And I've made thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars doing that over several years. I have done many different physical challenges. Like I said, done the 4x4x48 twice. I've done pretty crazy bulks and pretty crazy cuts. I have lifted large amounts of weight. I have, this is one of the crazy ones. So during COVID, obviously all the gyms were shut, and this was right before a summer I was about to go sell, doing door to door again, and our boss issued this challenge. All right, in this 3 week period, whoever can run the most amount of miles will hypothetically like win something or win this challenge. And first week I didn't do anything. I was like, I hate running. I'm not going to do it. And then second week, beginning of it, I saw one of my friends, Spencer Reynolds. If you end up watching this, talking about you, he started doing a couple miles every single day. I'm like, what? This dude doesn't run. Like, he's a wrestler. He hates running. I'm like, dude, if he can do it, I can run a couple miles. So I started running a couple miles a day. And then kind of towards the middle of the week, he started picking up the pace. He was running like 5, 6 miles a day. I was like, all right, like, dude, if he can do it, like, I can 100% do it. So pushed myself, started running 5, 6 miles a day. And then I kind of got to the point where it was my boss and then this other kid who were in the top, and I ended up finding myself in third place, kind of towards the end of the second week. So there's 3 total weeks. This is kind of close to the second week. And I was like, dang, like, I could win this thing. I want to win this thing. So I went ham. I went crazy. I would wake up in the morning, I would run probably 3 or 4 miles at a time. I'd do like 3 or 4 of those every single day. So I was running like 12 to 15 miles a day. And I did this for the next like week or so. And the very last one, I think I was like 10 or 15 miles behind first and second place. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do something crazy that no one will imagine doing. So I did not run. I would have killed myself, but I did a 40-mile trek I was in Utah at the time. So I went from Provo area. My goal was to hit Salt Lake City and end at the capital, but I kind of did my math wrong. And 40 miles I thought would get me to the capital. 40 miles only got me to South Salt Lake. So I was still like 10 miles short. But nonetheless, it took me like 13 hours to do that. I walked straight, and I got to the point where I was limping like the last 2 hours of the I'd say hike, I would call it. And I could not walk probably for 2 or 3 days after that. But And the crazy thing is, I still lost. I only got second place. The kid that won first, he ended up doing an Ironman, and supposedly biking and swimming counts as well. Which that's a different topic for a different day. I don't think it should count because biking is way easier than running. Anyway, so I've built this, accumulated all these different things, and I've done many different hard things, multitasking, doing multiple things, public speaking wise, and the goal is just to build this cookie jar up and up and up with hard and difficult things in life, that whenever you do run into something that's very challenging, you're like, I don't know if I can get through this, or I kind of feel like giving up. You can go to that mental cookie jar and pull out, all right, this is all the crazy stuff I've done. Like this ain't anything, type of thing. And it's great not only for yourself, but say you get married, you have kids, your sons are asking you stuff, your daughter's asking you stuff, you're like, I can pull from my experiences. I know exactly what you're going through. I've actually experienced 10 times what you're going through, son. Like, you need to keep going because this is what I did. And you can give your example from pull an experience from your cookie jar and share it with your kid. So that's my take. That's how you overcome any obstacle. You overcome any obstacle by, prior to that obstacle, doing hard stuff, doing stuff that sucks. Yeah, and of course, obviously it's gonna suck. It's not comfortable. You're gonna be uncomfortable, but that's the entire point of it. Make yourself uncomfortable right now. You do hard things right now so that your life in the future is gonna be exponentially simpler and exponentially easier. We all heard of the quote that gets mentioned all the time. It's like, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men, and the cycle continues. So make your hard times right now, makes you into a strong man, and then eventually it will create into good times. And then hopefully you can pass on to your kids and your what's the term for it, your generations to come, that you can teach them these skills and the things that led up to you being successful and being strong, and they can do it and find it themselves. That way you will never create weak men, you will never create a weak generation, you will continually creating strong ones. Anyway, that's the end of my spiel. How to overcome any obstacle recap. I talked about David Goggins, the Can't Hurt Me book, his life, his cookie jar ideology, his method with that, the mental cookie jar. And anytime he's going through something hard and he feels like giving up, he just asks himself one question: can I take one more step? One more step, yes. Can I take one more step? And just keeps asking himself, taking one more step at a time until he finishes what he started. All right. For those of you on IG or that hopped in and out of IG, you need to. I know, dude, James. So for those of you on YouTube, my friend on Instagram, he messaged. So true. That's why I do the thing. I put a title. It's called "Mentioned You," and it pops up on their notifications. And because it says Nico Riggs going live, mentioned you, you think I actually mentioned you in the live, which I actually didn't. It's just the title of the thing. But for those of you on IG, head over to my YouTube. I'm gonna do some Q&A. The link should be in my YouTube chat, so you can actually join the live stream and we can talk to each other face to face. All right, let's go ahead and let's try to add this broken biker. All right, I'm gonna try to add you. Like I said, bear in mind this is the first time I've kind of experimented it within the future or prior to this, but we'll see. Hopefully, it actually works. So there might be a few kinks. Let's see. All right, I'll switch my view. All right. Let's see if I can add. What's the stream ID? I need the URL. Okay, here we go. I just had to scroll down, I guess. All right, let's see. Let's try to make this work. Um, Actually, let's try this link. All right, well, not sure why it thought it was working earlier. Yeah, try broken bike. If you try joining hopping in again, let's see if it will work this time. All right. You want to try hopping in again? I'm going to put it in the chat again. All right, see if that works. I'm not sure if you're still here or not. All right, if you're still here, just like type something in the chat. At least I know you're still here. If not, then I'm gonna end the stream. All right, well, I guess he left the stream, but for the future, I'm gonna make sure. Hopefully, this works. I'm gonna test this out, but I will just flip over to my main cam. I will have it so there's ability for people to join the stream live and have your questions or whatever comments made. If you have anything that maybe disagrees with something I'm preaching or I'm talking about, or you want to talk about, perfect. If there's something you want to shout out, something you want to add that will you think will provide value for everyone else in the audience, then by all means. But that's about it. I'm about to go watch Sound of Freedom tonight with a couple of friends. It should be really good. If you haven't heard of it, it's a film that was created by this guy named Tim Ballard, and actually I don't think it was created by the Operation Underground Railroad organization itself. I believe the Sound of Freedom organization is separate, but is run by Tim Ballard. Essentially about exposing the child human trafficking epidemic that's kind of going on in around the world and especially in the United States. So I think that will be a really good movie. It's getting blown up everywhere. If you're wanting to go watch it, I'll also put a link down in the description of this live, and I'll throw it after I watch it as well. I'll throw it on my Instagram story. You can actually claim free tickets for it. So spread the good word. You can actually pay tickets forward as well. Pay for someone to go see it. Spread the word, just because human trafficking, and especially children human trafficking, is disgusting and it's evil and needs to be stopped. So I am with all of my fellow brothers across YouTube or across social media that are fighting against this terrible atrocity that's happening in our society and world today. And unfortunately, a lot of people that have messed up minds are trying to push their agenda and push to normalize pedophilia and all of this disgusting stuff in our society, and we need to put a stop to this. We need to stand up for our beliefs and put our foot down. All right, broken biker. He was back. I don't think it is working. Let's see if I can add you. All right, I added your video. I'm not sure. Can you hear me? All right. I'm actually gonna go off stream, broken biker, and I'll see if it still works, and we can still converse and talk. If you have a question, I can answer that offline. In the future, like I said, I had a feeling this was probably gonna happen, but in the future, I'll hopefully solve this. But oh, I hear some audio. Hello, can you hear me? All right, I'm gonna go offline.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? All right, I'm gonna go offline right now, and then I'll answer you individually.